Hello and welcome to Redhawks Weekly. I'm Adam Shalafu, and today I am joined by the director himself, the sports director, Devin Fry. Devin, so happy to have you in the studio with me.
That made me sound a lot more intense than what my job actually entails, so I appreciate that. I appreciate making me sound more grandiose than I really am. It's much obliged.
I think you're pretty grandiose.
Now.
Now we're in Inception here. Devin Inception. We're going to go back to
Devception.
That's a lot of Adam Shalafu right
Adam.
there. Let's go back to one Adam. Devin Fry. Okay, here we are. Technical difficulties, folks. Anyway, yeah, so very exciting time right now for the Redhawks. I was a little scared Friday night. They kind of got shellacked in that game one. But then they really came back and they took the rivalry series against the Milkmen.
And those series against the Milkmen are always going to be battles, you know what I mean? And they seem to be, no matter where Milwaukee is in the standings, it always seems like it's going to be a fight. And that was a tough matchup for the Hawks too, because they were coming off of their matchup against their series against Winnipeg, another rivalry series that can go either way any given time. So it was just good to have the Redhawks back home. They were on the road for. It was their longest road trip of the season against myriad of different teams there, and I think they only lost 3 games in that road trip. So I mean, definitely not a bad test for them, and it's good that they got it under their belt. But yeah, no, back in the friendly confines of Newman Outdoor Field and got a win over Milwaukee, which is always good.
Yeah, tough matchup against Milwaukee, as you said. Just always a team that seems to bring their best ball to Fargo. And any time that you beat a team in the championship, you know that it just sets up a rivalry for years to come.
It's a rivalry forever. Exactly. The Redhawks in Kansas City are the other ones now. They have a nice little rivalry brewing when that wasn't necessarily the case for however long. Because it seemed like forever Fargo Moorhead's rival was Winnipeg. And just, geographic rivals and the fun stuff. But then they started winning championships and being in championship series, and it came down to beating another team for a championship. And let me tell you, as someone who has lost in a championship game, you never, ever forget the teams that did that to you. And you want revenge for the rest of your life. I still want revenge on Soldotna, and they beat me in high school football in Alaska, and I'm still very bitter about it. But I digress.
He's not bitter at all, folks. Don't believe him. Anyway, Devin, so some pretty impressive stats. A lot of newcomers on this team, and I think one of the things that's really stood out is how impactful the middle infield has been, especially on offense.
Yeah, and it's some of the suspects that we would have suspected going into this season. Dylan Thomas is right up there. I believe he's tied for the league lead, tied for the team lead in RBIs. Not quite at the league lead yet, but he'll get there.
He'll get there.
But him and Evan Alexander tied for the team lead in RBIs. Evan Alexander and Peter Brookshaw, former Bison, leading in home runs. And then one of the new guys, Ismael Alcantara, 346 average.
So 346 average.
Not bad.
All right.
Not bad to say the least. And so he leads the team in that. He also leads the team in stolen bases. He's a cleanup guy who is able to steal second as well. I would have bet any amount of money, if I was a betting man, that Evan Alexander was leading the team in stolen bases, just because Evan Alexander is freakishly fast, and we've seen him turn the smallest of hits into a triple, and we've seen him steal bases left and right. But no, it's one of the new guys. It's Alcantara, and he's been fun to watch too. And we talked a little bit about getting those new guys in. We talked about it off camera, getting the new guys in. Some of them might not fit right away. And so you have to find those guys that fit. And they've seen a little bit of a roster shakeup too. They brought in 2 guys from Minnesota Crookston that weren't on the roster at the beginning of the season. So they're finding what works for them. And they're finding the guys that buy in. And Ismael Alcantara is right on the top of the list for that. And let's talk about the mound real fast. Davis Feldman. Back in a big way, too. 3 wins on there already. He's really emerged as the ace, as we assumed he would be. He was in the Toronto Blue Jays system last year, for crying out loud. He kind of has to be. But he's come in and didn't miss a step. So we'll see how long we get him before another major league team picks him up to go into his farm system. But for now, he's enjoying that role as the ace pitcher on the staff right now.
And that's kind of the two-edged sword. Like last year especially, they really got put in some dire straits at one point early in the year because their pitching was doing so well that next thing you know, all their pitchers were gone. And so that's just the name of the game.
Well, if you remember Jake Dykhoff, he is a very good relief pitcher, and that was like the role that they expected for him coming out of the bullpen. He got thrust into a starter role because they didn't have anybody else. He ended up being an all-star, but that's like why we haven't seen him start games this year, is because he wasn't supposed to be in that role. But he ended up being an all-star last year. But they find ways to make it work. And like I said, we're going to get to a point where Davis Feldman is grabbed by another team. It's going to happen, most likely. I don't want to, I guess, make a too concrete of a prediction, because then when I'm inevitably wrong, but I expect that to happen. So we'll see how they continue to rebuild this roster as they already had to do through the season.
And let's take a look at these most up-to-date standings. So this is as of today.
Right now.
And Sioux City coming to town next for the Redhawks. That series starts tomorrow.
That's them down at the bottom, right?
Down at the bottom. That's correct, sir. And we'll be talking with Jack Michaels tomorrow afternoon ahead of that series. Jack had some travel complications getting back into town as he was visiting some family over the weekend. And Bob Rohr's an excellent job on play-by-play. If you caught any of that, shout out to Bob.
There.
No, he did not. And
hey, look at the East,
yeah,
Adam. That's big. The Kane County Cougars. I haven't even noticed how good of a year they're having.
Yeah, and that is my home team.
Good work.
So
Adam.
Maybe if maybe me and you do a little road trip to Geneva, Illinois, we can go to the Country House. Very good restaurant.
Have to if the Redhawks take that top seed in the West. Then I mean, we're going to have to go to that one, right?
And there's Portillo's on Randall Road.
Oh, I love Portillo's.
Yep.
We could just go to the Portillo's at the cities, honestly, if you want to. We don't have to go to Geneva.
Well, we'll see. We'll see where the road takes us, where the road takes the Redhawks, rather. I mean, who knows? Just looking at it right now, those are kind of the prime suspects.
Sioux Falls is not very surprising at the top. Like, immediately your reaction is like, wow, Sioux Falls is having an incredible year. You wouldn't expect that. But they were starting to turn it on, and they gave the Redhawks a lot of issues last year as well. So that's not really too surprising. Kansas City,
that's a little surprising. 4-6 in their last 10 is surprising.
And they didn't lose very many pieces in the offseason either. It's basically the same team that won the Wolf Cup last year. And so that's a surprising start. Again, we have an entire summer of baseball. There's going to be a ton more games, and this is going to shake out. This is going to look wildly different, maybe even in a couple of weeks. But right now it's surprising. And then in the East, Kane County and Cleburne, normally those top two spots are Chicago and Milwaukee.
Right.
It's one of those two, and that never changes. But this year, it's pretty wide open so far. It's really fun.
Yeah, Cougs are red hot, longest win streak in the league, and then it's always a tough league. Every time we talk to Coast, he talks about how deep the league is. Fargo-Moorhead has a chance to climb back into first place in the West. They're going to need to have a successful campaign against the Canaries. And let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule that's coming up here. And so you got this is just June, mind you. You got the first two wins against Milwaukee.
Good start.
Tough little stretch. And then I think the X factor of this whole month, dare I say, is that Kansas City series. We saw, the Redhawks have a little bit of a lead on KC, and a KC team that isn't as good as they have been typically. Right. And, the Redhawks took control of that series when it was back in Fargo-Moorhead. But now you got to go on the road, take on the defending champs, and that's kind of sandwiched between, let's call it what it is, the last place series there. So, you can't go in taking it easy against Kansas City. That weekend series is going to be a doozy.
This last road trip they were on might have been the longest that they're going to have this year, but this upcoming road stretch might be the toughest that they have seen so far. Playing in Kansas City is very difficult. Sioux Falls is one of the best teams in the entire league. Sioux City has had Fargo-Moorhead's number in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And so, Sioux City isn't having the year that they would like to be having, but they're always a dangerous team. And so that's going to be a really telling couple of weeks, actually. So this is a really interesting look ahead here. And I see a fireworks night against Chicago at the end of the month. Don't mind me just looking ahead. I love this.
Yeah, and you get the rivalry series in Winnipeg. Just a lot to look forward to this month.
I might have to go to Winnipeg. I've never been up there.
I'll go with you. We'll do a little road game.
On location coverage for a random American Association series
in the middle of
in June.
In the middle of June. That's.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I vote they approve it right now.
I think they have no choice to.
Who says no?
Yeah. Everyone wants us there. And,
please write into our station and tell them that you want us up there, and we'll go.
All right, we can maybe even make a little documentary series about it. Who knows? Wheels just rolling.
Us on the road to Canada. That'd be a heck of a documentary series there.
Well, thank you so much for stepping in and a little pinch hitting today. But before I let you go, what are you looking forward to the rest of the season and just the rest of the short term, what do you have your eye on, really?
Kind of how they continue to rebrand and regrow this roster as the season goes on, because that's been the story of the last couple seasons, is how they do replace the guys that they lose, and they have done a heck of a job already with that this season. Jake Jelly out of Minnesota Crookston making an impact almost immediately after joining the roster. His name is escaping me right now, but a new signing also from Crookston hit a home run in his first at bat at the professional level. So they're finding guys to replace the people that they're going to lose, because some names are going to get called up, other people are going to have to move around. It's how they replace it, and that's the story for the good early portion of the season, because then towards the midway point of the year, call-ups are done. We're not going to see as many people moving. They shouldn't have to restructure as much. So the early part of this year, it's going to be all about the restructuring, and I'm very excited to see how they manage to do that.
That really is the name of the game. It's a long stretch, long season. Definitely off to a really good start. We'll take one last look at those standings before we let you go. And so, as we said, they have Sioux City coming in next, and then you go out to Kansas City. A lot can change, and a lot does change in a hurry. So we'll keep you updated throughout. More Redhawks Weekly. You got the double play this week. We'll have Jack Michaels visiting in studio. For now, Adam Shalafu with Devin Fry. Devin, thanks, buddy.
Thanks. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate you.
Enjoy the baseball. We'll see you next time.